Welcome to the Whiskey and Wisdom Podcast, coming to you from the Cargo District Recording Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we discuss the most fascinating topics of life. I'm Tyler Yaw with my co-host, Chris Kellum, and each week we interview a special guest to learn how they acquired their wisdom over a glass of whiskey. So, sit back, pour yourself a glass, and enjoy Whiskey and Wisdom.
Welcome back, everybody. As per usual, you have my boy, Chris, constant co-host.
Tyler, y'all.
This week, we bring on a man who just makes me laugh and has a great just life story.
And watch collection.
That's another. Pete Fournier. Did I
What's
say
up?
that right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I always get scared. Like when I see a last name with extra vowels.
Yeah.
Like, ooh.
If you try to say it like the American way, I suppose it just sounds like you'd be like Fournier. Fournier.
Fournier. So I met this guy a couple years ago, and we'll go into that a little bit. But before we start talking Pete's history, we're trying the Smooth Ambler Contradiction Bourbon. I know we had their rye a while ago, but this one's just like their classic. And it is a blended bourbon. I would consider it a whiskey because it's, anyways, that's semantics. But because it's a blend, they get whiskey from West Virginia, Tennessee, and Indiana. And they kind of like blend it up, have a nice smooth kind of figure body to it. It smells good. We took a quick sip earlier, sorry. But man, that thing is good. So we'll have another sip. And cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. What's the rule of thumb? It's got to be made in Kentucky.
That's the strict Chris's definition of it.
Tyler's like, technically it just needs to be 51%.
It's 51% corn and a brand new charred oak barrel that's made in the United States.
Like Scotch has to come from Scotland, technically.
Yes. Yeah. And then the like very strict version is what Chris is saying, like must be from Kentucky from the
trail.
Yeah, yes. the limestone water that they use out there.
Yeah.
So that's the strict version of it, but the looser one is the 51% corn or more in charred oak barrels, new charred oak barrels made in America.
So, sorry, we're all
learn something new every day. Yeah.
But like I said, we have Pete on here. He is a killer of the game. Worked his way up from singing in show tunes in high school. Sorry, I had to pull that out because he posted something a while ago, and I was like, man, this kid's over here. Yeah, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, I grew up in North Jersey, and so I'm not a Wilmington native like most people, I feel like, because no one's actually from here, which is pretty wild. Yeah, except
me. Yes. I found the one Wilmington native to bring on the podcast.
Exactly. So, yeah, I did grow up in North Jersey, did a lot of musical funny story about that. You do random things for, like, girls back in the day, especially in high school, right? So that's how I got into theater. A lot of my friends that were girls were in theater, but I also had a crush and was dating these two. I think it was like 16 or 17. They were like, you should try, you have a decent voice. Like, you could be good. And I was like, yeah, whatever, sold. No, I don't care. But then I got the bug. So I probably did, I don't know, 40, 45 shows after that.
Oh, wow.
It's just crazy.
Isn't that where you met Meg? Or did you guys
Meg and I went to high school together. Okay, she was a grade below me. Yeah. Yeah. So I knew all of her friends. We never dated or anything until after college, which was pretty wild. Oh, wow. But yeah, that's also a crazy story. But
it's an interesting setup.
You still do stuff like that now on occasion?
I would like to. I actually, full circle, I guess I stopped 4 years ago, but I ran the theater department for my alma mater high school while building this insurance agency.
Oh, wow.
So it was like all the same faculty was there. It was wild. Like my vice principal was the principal now. And like, I think I got hired at 23 or 24. So
that's crazy.
Not very far removed from the kids I was teaching, but we brought down the house. That theater program was pretty damn good when I left.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that in Wilmington?
That was in North Jersey.
Oh, Jersey. Okay,
yeah. I moved down here April of 2020.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So pandemic hit and we were like, let's get the fuck out.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Well, it was hilarious because like when I met Pete, I had seen him without a mask. And then COVID hit, and all I had seen was him with a mask. And I'm like, am I sure this is the same guy? Like, I know I've seen him walk in a few times, chat up. And then I was like, wait, yeah, this is the right person. I'm not mixing them up.
Yeah, because I had met you before I even moved. I think I was just commuting down here. I worked as president of sales for an insurance company down here. That's what brought me here. And then I went back off on my own, and we can share that. But yeah, I was like, I've been addicted to watches since like I was a fetus. So I was like, holy shit, there's a Rolex in Wilmington? Like, how? Right.
It's so hilarious because everyone will come in and be like, "Ooh, you have Rolex. Let me buy one." I'm like, you realize that because we are a small city, everyone has the same idea. Sadly, you are not the first person to ask that exact question.
Do you know who the wristwatcher is? Has Chris got you onto him? He's out of Jersey.
No.
I've sent you some of his stuff.
Oh, the reels on Instagram? Yeah.
So
I wasn't sure where he's out of.
I follow a lot of the big wheel guys like TPT and Luxury Bazaar and like all this other stuff because I was like big into trading. Like I'm a big fan of like Hublot outside, which like everybody shits on, and the occasional Breitling. So I follow a lot of those guys. But I feel like there's a very big line in the sand between like the vintage influencer people that are very like horological and what I mean, I like that it does crazy stuff, but like I really don't give a shit. It just looks really cool on my wrist. So yeah, I'm more of that modern side of the coin, I would say.
See, but no, wristwatcher is he's from Jersey. He used to work at a Torno.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure, and then he kind of stepped out and opened his own secondary.
Oh yes,
watch business.
Yes.
Everyone keeps looking at. They're like, "You sure you don't?" No. I really, really, really like my job currently, and will be there for quite some time.
Wristwatcher is known for his watches, his Yeezys, and his food.
Oh man, we'd be best friends, right? I have like 18 pairs of Yeezys, whether you like Kanye or not. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You just have shoes.
I just have shoes. I have
to get you set up with Uncommon Boutique down the road. Then.
I did go in there the other day. Yeah, I do have a weird. No offense to them because they have awesome stuff. I would not buy used shoes. I don't know why. I just got like a little heebie-jeebies when it comes to. I've sold used shoes.
Yeah.
Well, most of theirs aren't used. They're just bought and resold.
Gotcha.
Like a lot of these watch flippers.
Yeah. I'd buy a used watch. I don't know about used shoes or clothes in general.
I get that.
I go back and forth.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I only buy new stuff.
I was like, used have you bought lately?
My car.
I meant clothes-wise.
Oh, no. I don't buy used clothes.
Yeah. Something that like touches your body is kind of like.
But I'm also big.
Yeah.
Like, finding something that's long torsoed or 2X is near impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need some custom shit.
I currently cannot afford that.
Need to sell some more watches.
I need to sell some more diamonds.
Yeah.
You do have an anniversary coming up.
I do.
Both of y'all.
I do. Well, that's the other thing. See, I buy other shit too.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
We just get down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Amex doesn't even like worry about it anymore. Right. Like, it's Reed's. It's fine.
He's a decent dude. Oh, Lord. But you've been running pretty much your own businesses for a while.
Yeah.
So then it leads me to the fun question. How did you become like a public speaker? Because I see you like traveling all the damn time.
All the time. So last year I did 77 legs of flights.
Wow.
Which was awful. Flying around the country like in the beginning was super fun. And your friends like are like, oh, wow. You get to go to Vegas like 7 times. I'm like, I don't really see the outside. But
No.
So theater helped at least like cultivate the public speaking, persona because you're not scared of anything at that point.
Yeah.
But in 2016, I started a coaching consulting company for insurance agents because a lot of people, at least in our space, and I know you're in financial services too, in the insurance game, I mean, with all due respect to our industry, it's an MLM, right? So a lot of people are recruiting. They're not training. They're not mentoring. They're just getting warm bodies in there, and that's it. So I saw this like niche of, well, you might be best friends with your upline or it's your uncle or whatever, but no one's training you to sell anything. So just pay me, and I don't need your contracts. I just need your credit card. So, and I got that from somebody messaged me on Facebook, I think in 2016, and was like, hey man, I've seen your posts. Like, how much would you charge for like a half hour of your time? And I was like, I don't know, PayPal me $250. And he was like, okay, and sent it. And I was like, holy shit.
I didn't charge enough.
Yeah, first I was like, damn it. And then second, I was like, man, this could be something. So I actually went to 10X Growth Con in 2018 in Miami. Been a big Grant Cardone fan and stuff. Paid for holy shit tickets and sat VIP or whatever. And I sat next to this couple that ran a marketing agency. They just left corporate America and they were going off on their own. And I was like, oh man, I got this idea. And they were like, let us build you a site. And like, I had the money at the time, but I didn't want to spend it on like a website and SEO and shit. But I was like, whatever, fuck it. So I pulled the trigger, and then all of a sudden people just started, like, I would post on Facebook or I'd post a video about like how to sell a specific product. And then people would go to the site and just start booking coaching calls, or I started developing products like playbooks and webinars and stuff like that, and just seeing what took and what didn't, and people swiped their credit cards. So I was like, damn, this is a nice niche. So that got me to on a couple stages, more podcasts, more industry-specific podcasts, a couple sales ones, a couple big ones like dropping bombs and stuff like that. And yeah, people started booking me for stuff, which was kind of cool. So either I'm on a stage at like a industry conference, either speaking or training or giving a keynote or whatever, or a couple of companies throughout the year or agencies will hire me to come to their corporate event or their like win event where all their top guys are there. And I'll give a hoorah speech and then train them for an hour or something like that. So that caused a lot of plane flights, but it's been fun. It's been fun. It's exhausting, but fun.
So,
sorry, I want to interrupt real quick. So this is something that our industry comes across a lot too, and then other industries I hear this a lot too, is for you, how is it training your competition?
Well, one, they're paying you, so it's not that bad, right?
Right. Yeah.
But two, I'm of the, and I think you've known me long enough. I'm cocky like that. Like, I can train you, but you're never going to be me.
Yeah.
So I could give you the words, the script. I mean, I give people my exact presentation. They're not closing as much as I am because it's just a different, either they don't embrace it completely or, you know, they just don't have the personality to back it. It'll help them for sure, but they won't get to the same elevation. Maybe 2 or 3 will, but the country's so big and everybody's a prospect. It's like, who cares?
Exactly.
And I feel like I'm not the same salesperson now that I was 5 years ago when I started. Like, I'm always getting better too. So reteaching the same techniques habitually, both to my own agency and other people's, like, it makes you top notch.
Absolutely.
So I didn't, not gonna lie, in the first, like, I would say 6 months to a year, I was like, oh man, I hate that guy's guts, but he paid me $500. So got to teach him, you know?
Right.
You know? But post that, getting over that, it hasn't been so bad.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I was at a networking event and I got put into another group with another guy who was in financial services as well. And so I wasn't, but they're like, there's been other people that they're like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, Wilmington's a big enough place, man. Like, I'm not concerned about you. I'm proud of what I do. I know what my service is. I know what value I bring. Like, you're not really my competition. Like, you're still the same product.
How crazy is that to say, not to interrupt you, but Wilmington's a big place.
Yeah.
Like, people are so small-minded. Like, oh, there's so much business here. Imagine the whole friggin' country. So that's a good mentality to have.
Which is crazy because we had somebody else on and she was talking like she grew up on the West Coast. And she's like, God, Wilmington is like peanuts compared. Like, and we all think it's a pretty big city.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from here, so I consider Wilmington the town of Wilmington, pretty much New Hanover County. But like, when you think of it, Wilmington pretty much is the Tri-County area because it's just, you can't all fit here. It
is massive.
It's New York City. Like, you can't all fit on the same space. You have to expand out into it. But unless you're from the boroughs, you're not actually from New York.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to go back into that.
The other crazy thing about that too is, like, growing up, you know, I was in Bergen County, so without traffic, it should have been 15 minutes into the city, you know, but there were, like, when I first got licensed back in 2010, there were 87,000 licensed agents in the state of New Jersey. So, like, you deal with the bigger prospect pool, but you're also dealing with more quote unquote competition, or at least idiots running around trying to do what you do. So, it's a balancing act. Whereas here, there might not be that many financial advisors, life and health specialists, whatever. So you're dealing with less, even with a lesser population,
I never thought about that.
And if you think about too, between Pender County, New Hanover County, and Brunswick County, there's over 500,000 people. Like there's no way for me and my business partner to service 500,000 people.
Yeah, you capture 1% of that. That's pretty damn good living.
And that's if we just stayed in that area. I mean, we have clients in California, Texas, Florida, like everywhere anyway. So, I mean, the world's the oyster at that point.
Yeah.
My random question. Do you pay for the upgrade to get the legroom?
I only fly first now, like a bougie bitch. But I will tell you, I'm big on the motivation, the secret. Like, I could go down the rabbit hole on all that stuff. But Steve Harvey actually forced me to do that because I was listening to some interview he did a while back. And he was like, even if you don't really have the money, as long as you have the money and you're not going to go into debt, like buy a first class ticket one time and experience the drinks and the service and everything, the leg room, the seat, because you'll work your ass off to never not do that ever again. Yeah. And granted, the points helped because I took so many friggin' plane rides that now I just get it. But I never want to go back if I can help it.
I saw a clip of Steve Harvey saying that. Yeah. So I was like, that's a good point. And now I have 2 kids, so it's a little bit harder. But.
Yeah. I was spoiled. Like, we went on our honeymoon and we got first class tickets as like a treat. And I was like, whoo-hoo. Everyone else, you have to sit here, oh, sorry, you guys aren't getting snacks and drinks. Sucks to suck. And then we took a trip to New York recently, and I was like, I'm not going to get first class. I'll just get like Comfort Plus. And then I sat in that seat and I'm like, I'm a wide body boy. Like, I'm just going to have to suck it up and save because they don't make seats. Like, me and my wife, we can sit comfortably, but if we had a third person beside us, it'd be a wrap.
Yeah.
So I'm with Pete.
You also do it. I mean, I'm bougie on the comfort, like I only buy soft stuff or whatever, but I do it now more so from a trained mindset perspective of like, I've gotten some of my best clients out of first class. Share a couple beverages, you can compare watches because they're always pretty nice up there. It's like, what do you do? What do you do? Oh, I need that. I need this. And I'm like, shit, I'll be in Texas next week. I'll hit you up when I'm down there. Right. You're like, wow. So it's worth the upgrade of the ticket.
Easily paid for.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm. Next step is chartering private, like semi-private. Right. You buy a seat on the jet that someone else is leading. Yeah.
One day.
Is
that like one of your 2-year goals?
Yeah. Well, I wanted the ability to fly private. Yeah. 24 months from this January is on like my vision board. Yeah. Not all the time, because I think that's fucking ridiculous. But like if someone passed away or I had to get somebody somewhere fast, or like I got a conference and it's 2 days from now or whatever, like going through that whole booking process, whatever. If you could afford to drop $15K on a single leg to get somewhere, it's like, all right. Flying it all the time, you definitely need hundreds of millions of dollars. But
justify that.
Just doing a quick.
The occasional one is very nice.
No, I keep seeing videos. And so I was like, I need to step away from TikTok because I just go down the rabbit holes. And you're like, oh, I'm building a jet for my family of 6. And I'm like, I'm not even going to say that's goals. Like, I have no want for that, but it'd be cool to sit on one.
Yeah, I've done it 6 times, I think. And the first time was actually really scary. And then after that, like the convenience factor, you would definitely get addicted to it if you had the means to be able to do it, because
it's like walk straight on the tarmac, get on.
Like 10 minutes before it leaves, and you can bring 14 bottles of this and food and whatever, and like no one gives a shit about anything. You sign a little piece of paper to say you're you, give the passport, walk right on with your bag. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Some of them have like a flight attendant on it. It's like, holy hell. Whole nother level.
Yeah.
Like whole nother hundreds of millions.
So you been on that 10X private jet yet then?
No. I did a coaching call with Grant though in person in 2016. And back then it was 10 G's. Now I think it's 100, which is crazy. But he does have a package, I think, where you get like 4 calls and a ride on the jet. And it's like, I don't know, $250,000 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Speak out of turn, but it's expensive. It would be cool, but I don't know. It's like that Tony Robbins inner circle where the people pay him $1 million a year to be in the thing. I mean, if I had it, maybe, but
I'm good.
I ain't got that.
So, like, do you talk about prospecting at all? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
because you mentioned sitting in first class, being in spaces allows you to prospect and find other faces.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that sounded.
Oh,
I feel like someone else has said that.
You got to TM that one real quick.
That's
Write that down. Legal Zoom. Copyright.
By the time this is ended.
But I know you, with your business, you help prospect. But where do you feel or find? Actually, Tyler, what's your question? I feel like you would word this better.
Yeah, what's your philosophy for prospecting, like the best practices?
So now or like in the beginning or a little bit of both? Or
Let's start at the beginning and we'll get you where you are now.
So for like newer, I would say newer salespeople are in general, like the dirtiest word is warm market or dirtiest 2 words. But any brand new agent that comes into our organization, All Things Insurance Group, they are required first 30 days, 30 practice presentations using our scripting on 30 people that they know. And it's very non-invasive. I know that at least 9 of those 30 are probably going to buy something, but it's, hey, my manager's kind of a dick and won't give me leads. So can I do my spiel? No harm, no foul. If you don't need help, it's all good. And statistically, they usually sell about 9 policies doing that. Wow. Beyond that, it's getting 3 to 5 referrals per presentation, right? So that helps. And then I'm a big proponent of buying leads, at least in the beginning. Right. I mean, there are some shit ass vendors out there, but if you find a couple good ones or a marketing team that'll do like Facebook ads or YouTube or whatever, like you got to pay for that. You're either paying with time or with money, right? Regardless. So in the beginning, what I coach agents to do is if they do their 30, they sell 9, maybe that's $8,000 to $10,000 in commissions. You're parlaying half of that into your marketing budget for the next 30, 60, 90 days. Yeah. And then you should just be on the wheel, right? You're selling 30% of the people that you talk to, you're reinvesting 50%, but all of a sudden a year goes by and you're like, oh, this shit's kind of easy. But it's that first like 30 to 90 days where people fall off the way. Either they can't even get through the practices or they don't want to swipe their credit card or whatever. But so that's in the beginning. Now, being like seasoned, I'll call it. I've been selling insurance for 12 years. I'm always on, right? Like, I mean, but you're my client. I didn't force him to buy, but I was like, hey, I do this. These are the details of the policy. He asked some questions. I asked some questions, very non-invasive. 7-8 months later, he was like, hey, give me a quote. Okay, well, if I do that every day of my life, every hour, people are going to come to you eventually, and you'll be like, oh, my God, I just got free money. Yeah. Well, you didn't really because you put in the legwork, right? And, I do that with friends, with family. Like a lot of my agents are like, oh, my God, how do you get all these referrals? It's not so much like I'm begging and pleading people to refer me business. It's I'm on 24/7. So if I talked about an insurance policy with you 9 months ago and you just bought, like, I win. You know what I mean? Right. So, and you just keep that train going. It's obviously a lagging indicator with most people. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, everybody wants instant gratification. But if you can afford to spend money on marketing or leads and subsequently always be on 3-4 years from now, you'll be on autopilot. Yeah. And you could just keep it rolling.
And I will say that is very true. Like in life in general. Because when I started at the company, I was just like, I'll do the things, learn the best practices, and then move forward. And I have so many people who get hired and they're like, ooh, I just want to make the money you're making. I'm like, well, if you want to make that money or sell that much, you need to put in the groundwork. And people don't ever want to build the foundation. And that's when you have a ton of people coming back who are mad at you. You got bad reviews. And I'm like, that's not what I want in life. I just want people who are like, actually want to come back and see me.
Yeah. Yeah. Building the trust.
Fast cash is the worst way to look at anything. I mean, if you need it and you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a salesperson in general, go get a part-time job at Harris Teeter until you can like mentally afford to do what's necessary. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you need that instant money.
I like that. Talking about spending money, even if it's not instant. You like shoes.
Yeah.
You didn't mention this. I'm just going to swing back around. So, and every time he comes in, he reminds me of the wristwatcher with a random outfit and a good pair of shoes. So what are your two favorite like kicks right now?
Yeezys in general, just daily wear. Not even so much for the look. They're the most comfortable friggin' shoe. Like Ultra Boost, if you can't afford, like, well, Yeezys are like gone now, I guess. So you gotta buy them aftermarket or whatever, right? I have a ton. So if you are a size 10 or 10 and a half, hit me up. But I liked Ultra Boost forever. So that's probably number one. And then from like a fashion, I'm a big like dress sneaker type person. So I really like Gianni, if you call it Maggiani's, if that's how it's pronounced. I don't really know. But really, really nice, like Italian made. They're probably like $200 at Nordstrom Rack. They're $600-700 shoe, but they last forever. Cole Haan's always a really good one for me. I'll buy like 6 or 7 pairs of Cole Haan in the same style, but different colors.
Yeah.
Because it's like walking on clouds. I would rather comfort than necessarily design. Like I'm wearing these ones right now. Yeah. They're pretty comfortable, but they just like look good. Like let's be honest.
I mean, it goes great with the fit.
Yeah. So I've always been big on that. Why I have such a shoe fetish, for lack of a better term, is my mom bought me one pair of Jordans long time ago, like 3rd, 4th grade, and they were 4s, I want to say, and it was like white on one side, black on the other, and I wore them to sleep that night, like they were brand new. I like woke up in them, and she was like, "Once you outgrow these, though, like that's it. That's your only pair, and you can start buying your own like when you can afford them." And like that subliminally has been in the back of my mind since I was like 9. So I was like, "Fuck it, I can afford them now." So I'm gonna have 87 pairs of sneakers.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm like, that's. Like everybody has like things from their past that influence their present, and I feel like typically it's bad things. But that I think is kind of funny.
Yeah,
it's like I can afford it. Let's do this. That's like me. Like I worked in clothing for so long, and I'm like, this outfit would look so good, and you could pull it off. And they're like, I don't know. You're wearing this outfit. I don't know if I can trust you. I'm like, I'm wearing this because I can't afford it. You can afford this fit. Trust me. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I have to, that's how I dress my wife now. She's like, everyone's like, oh, you look so great. She's like, yeah, he picked it out. I'm like, thank you. I know what looks good or what should look good. And I'm like, yeah, it's just experience.
You know, it's also like, it's hard to feel good 24/7. Like, you get ups and downs or whatever. Yeah. I try to be a very happy, motivated person, but like every once in a while, I'm like, fuck this shit. Like to whatever, Right. But like clothes, shoes, flying first class or extended legroom or whatever, like those are little things that really don't cost. Like, I'm not saying buy 80 pairs of shoes, but like buy a couple pair that like you friggin' love walking around in rather than like I'm not even going to say a brand because it'll offend somebody, but like, don't buy shit. You know what I mean? Or if you can only afford one pair, wear them, run them into the ground, and then like get another one because it helps you feel good on a daily basis, whatever that vice is, Yeah,
just building that confidence, no matter what you're wearing. Just like, hey, if you have it, that's going to pay dividends. If you're showing up confident, people see you as confident.
Yep.
I'm odd enough that I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, if you love how this feels, buy 2.
Right. Yeah.
People are like, that's so much money. I'm like, it is, but you're going to be real pissed when you wear out these things in 2-4 years. They don't make it anymore. Nowhere near any comfort feel to that. I'm like, ooh. Now, if only I could have that kind of money myself.
I'm a big fan of Cuts. I don't know if you've ever seen their T-shirts, long sleeves, whatever. Yeah. And that's the thing. They have these. You might like them. Extra long, broad shoulder, but like they taper a little bit. They fit good in the arms. They're not like super tight, but whatever. And I mean, they could be a $40 T-shirt, but I found them. They fit really good. So I bought like 12 of them in all different colors. And like every time I have a T-shirt on, it feels really good. And the end, You don't need 800 pairs of Hanes Walmart brand DJ, just buy like 10 or 12 staples and you're good.
Exactly.
I saw a podcast with the creator, owner, something from Cuts.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah,
which is a plug because we would love to have Max Tuning on the podcast.
And for you to send us some more stuff.
Right.
I love that. But yeah, no, he was on there and they were talking about like their story of how they got to where they were. And I'm like, that's one of those things where if you know what you want, you shouldn't sacrifice, like you said, money or time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you know your goal, you should be shooting for it.
Yep. Yeah, the time thing too, and like we're obviously not that old, but we're probably all in a similar age bracket.
Mm-hmm.
It is odd coming out of your 20s. You're not 20, right?
No.
30.
Okay.
You just turned 30. I'm the oldest one in here.
Happy almost birthday.
Yeah.
Or a past birthday. But like coming out of your 20s, or I'll say even 25, like a lot of this stuff was spent like, you waste like a lot of time. Yeah, trashed every night, or you're doing whatever, God knows what, or you're taking random drives because you got your first nice car or whatever. Now it's more so like I would rather swipe to avoid wasting time on certain stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely something I've been doing the past couple of years now too, is like the time value is starting to outweigh the money value, depending on what the product is, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, the value of just efficiency more than anything.
Yeah.
I think Emily hates that because I was in the military.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how so much time is wasted doing shit and then waiting. And I'm like, why don't we just make it efficient? So anytime we're like, let's go to the grocery store, and I'm like, all right. So what row is this on? Like, let's make the list and then figure out what aisle is this on. Okay, so we know we do the snake method, which is always funny because I've seen people pick on it. Like guys will just do the snake, and then other people will be like, well, I'm going to grab this, and I'll go over here and get this. And I'm like, no, every single person is in the grocery store on Sundays between 11 and 2.
Walking around like that.
Yes. If you're efficient, you scoot around all of them, and you're out within a certain time, and then you have the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
Jennifer always makes fun of me too. She'll give me a grocery list, and then I go through it, and then I order it from like the different aisles that they're in and everything. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I have to rewrite your list because you just wrote down random shit." And she was like, "Okay."
See, I'm bad with that. I have severe ADHD, so I go to a grocery store and I know I have a list that Meg got me, and then I'm like, oh, shishito peppers, those look good, and then I get off task. So like Meg will order off the app now, and then I'm just the bitch that goes and picks them up.
Yes.
You know?
Like,
All right, let's Jennifer had to start doing that too because the closest grocery store to us is Lowe's Foods, and they have the beer den. So I end up spending time with the beer den. And I was like, it took you 2 hours to get groceries, Tyler. Like,
I was taking my time.
Right. Make sure I forgot something. I have to go back.
We're lucky. Like we've gone back and forth, and I'm like, it's a good thing. When I get off of work, I just go home because I know that I'm like Tyler. If I stop somewhere and if I'm grabbing a drink or something, yeah, it's 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've been
Dinner's
there
cold.
for sure. My opposite now is that like you run your own business, so it's like you're just never off. Is the other alternative? Like, thank God we opened the office first week of February.
Yeah,
and February 1st, my birthday. Also, this.
Oh, nice.
What a good day that was. Because like I tend to more so in the last 3 weeks. I'm coming home from, so I turn off a little bit more. My iMac is at the office. Like I can only do so much from my phone or my tablet or whatever. So I think that helps a little bit more. Otherwise, I'm like
you're always running.
Always running. I would do that too. I'd go like it'd be Wednesday and I had a bunch of appointments in people's houses because you still do that, right? Yeah. And then it's like 7:30 and you're like, I'm gonna go have a martini and then do more stuff on my phone. And now it's 10 o'clock and you're like, holy shit.
I know that too well.
Yep.
Well, the real bad thing is if you cross through downtown, you could go to Underfront and they have like a nice little lounge space. You can sit back and be like, just keep them coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Like if Wilmington opens up like a spot, like I would just love like someone bought, I'm sure it's Wilmington bought the PPD building. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's what you need to do. You put a bunch of offices in a bomb ass bar in the bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
Like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah. I'm like, that's what New York has. Is like there's amazing bars everywhere. I'm like, yeah, but there's also a lot of people stacked on top. Wilmington needs a spot where you're like, oh, hey, we all work together. Let's go downstairs and get a drink.
I mean, it's super smart because you like Meg and I both worked in Manhattan for numerous years. Her more so corporate, like she was on the regiment. I was in maybe like 2 or 3 times a week. But you find yourself, I'd have meetings from 8 to like 6:30. And I'm like, wow, I don't need to take the train home now. I'll just go downstairs and have a cocktail and a nice meal. And then, oh, wow, maybe I should just stay in the city because I got to be back here tomorrow at 7. Like, it's crazy. Businesses would be stupid not to do that down here, for sure.
I feel like we will eventually progress to that. Because I feel like Wilmington's doing like these little communities, and like the communities are growing their own spaces, like the Soda Pop District, the Cargo District, the Lights.
River Lights.
Thank you. Like all these little districts are building their own communities where it's not just, oh, hey, houses.
Make sure you don't have to leave. Capture you.
Facts. That's the odd thing. I never thought about that till just now, but that was always the mental. It's like, if I ever won like $1 billion, just buy a swath of land, be like, all right, so I'm going to get this marketed for housing. I'm going to put this for groceries. I'm going to put a bar in here, and we'll have like a thing. And people are like, that's weird.
You can do that in Brunswick County for not that much money.
It's weird until it happens. And then people are like, oh, shit, this is cool.
Yeah. It's like a commune. I'm like, no, it's just so your friends can be your friends and you're not like going out and being awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I don't know if you guys listen to stand-up comedy, but Tom Segura's got a stand-up about that. Like, he's like, in 15 years, we won't even leave our beds. Like, we're just, but like people, I feel like people innately do not want to leave their house, their community. Like, that's why Amazon kicks ass. You can have like a reindeer shipped to your house like the same day if you wanted to. So like, I mean, I live in River Lights, and it's the same. Like, if they built a grocery store, I would never leave.
Yeah.
I mean, you have one kind of close.
Well, they have the new one coming.
Yeah, I mean, that Harris Teeter's pretty damn close to us, but like, they have 3 or 4 bars. They got a pizza place. They got, no offense, smoke, but you need to do work on your food. But they got a restaurant, and they now have a clothing store.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Shout out Sarah. That boutique is pretty cool. Forgive me if I don't remember the name, but they have like, Page jeans and stuff like that, which is kind of nice. So like, you really don't have to leave the area, which if Wilmington business owners are listening, we need the office space with the bar and all that cool stuff. We need some menswear boutiques. I would love to shop small if I can help it, like within reason. I don't want to spend $350 on no jeans. Like, give me a break. But like, if you had close to department store prices, but it was like a small boutique set, I'd be there every weekend buying a shirt or a pair of pants or whatever.
So we have like 2 or 3. But the problem is that a lot of guys in Wilmington are either super cheap or don't shop for themselves.
Right.
So like there's...
Or they're older, so it's a lot like Tommy Bahama or like...
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So like Gentleman's Corner, which we're going to have him on here at some point.
Oh, that's in Lumina Station?
Yes.
Yeah. I've been in there a couple times. Still, like, if I'm like 45, I'm going in there every day.
Right.
Oh, but to me, I'm like, those outfits, he... buy some really great stuff.
Oh, yeah. Super high, like Peter Millar and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I would go in there for a golf shirt, like kind of stuff. Yeah.
And then there's a shop downtown. What is the name of it?
Not Bloke.
Bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't they sell men's clothes?
Yeah. I don't think I've been in there.
Bloke is downtown. They used to be across from Mayfair. And then they moved downtown. And that's another great spot. But Wilmington could handle at least 2 more.
Yeah. And like I'd rather
like
see,
you said,
I'd rather see it that way than like I'm begging for like a Saks or a Nordstrom or like they would crush here. If Nordstrom Rack came in, that place would be packed.
Yes. But the problem is it's similar to Marshall's is they see the demographic and they're like, oh, we'll send you this product.
Yeah.
And you're like, we don't want that. We want the shit that they're getting in Charlotte or Charleston. Like, give us the good stuff and we'll spend the money.
Yeah.
But
any investor listening, Chris would be a great men's clothier, and he also wants to open a bottle shop, which would be perfect to put right next to a men's.
Hell yeah. You know, it'd be awesome, actually, and I always thought about this, too, and you can feel free to steal it, is like a true bespoke men's shop.
I already thought about it.
Like, because the only place that I've gotten, like, decent shirts for, like, relatively okay price, like you're talking like $150 and below for a custom dress shirt, is in Atlanta. And the experience, They give you a cocktail. They have snacks. You go in, you get measured. You can feel all the things, but they don't really have. They have a couple demos, and that's it. And then 12 weeks later, you get your shit in the mail, and you're like, oh my God, it's like Christmas. Like that would be awesome.
No, I've also so because I've been in retail for so long, I see things and I'm like, I really would love to fill that hole, but I work in retail. So finding the investment to like start something like that. I follow a guy, he's based out of like Houston, and he similarly worked in clothing, and he shifted to making bespoke fits. Like he would show up to your house. It's not 100% bespoke because that's a whole nother level. Yeah. But he could show up to your house with his bag and be like, okay, so these are all of the textures, all of the colors. All right, let's do, and he would do like 30 something measurements for a suit and make sure that thing fits you. And I'm like, I would love that.
Yeah.
Because Wilmington's always like, oh, well, and I've talked to a couple of people and like they come from out of town to get here because they're showing up for appointments. And I'm like, that's a cool gig, but why don't you just support somebody who lives here?
It's not here. That's why.
Yeah. I know at least one person who could do it for me also.
Entrepreneurs in Wilmington, will you shop bespoke if Chris opens a place? Right. Because I will. So
first,
let's sign a petition.
Here. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many like levels to that because you could do bespoke clothing, and then you got like, you can't do a cigar shop because it'd have to be its own separate building, and I can't afford that.
Which you'd have to. No, it's actually probably yeah.
See.
That's another podcast.
That's a whole nother episode. But you could do like the barbershop.
I partake in that as well.
It's like, yo, let me set you up, get a little whiskey, drink a little drink, have some snacks. I went to Charlotte and they have a Tommy John shop.
Yeah.
And you walk in there like, hey, do you want a beer? Do you want some nuts? And I'm like, for t-shirts and underwear? It's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
We'll do it.
It's crazy. That's what my brain is.
It's about the experience too. Like, I mean, well, you guys do it at Reed's. Like you walk into like a Rolex on Madison Avenue, or you walk into like Versace and you look like you can afford it. They bust out like some dom and they're like, you want to, and you're like, wow, let's just spend money now,
My problem, because I've grown up here, I know people make money. And it's very subtle money. So people come in and they're like, oh, he doesn't look like he'll spend anything. I'm like, I don't give a flying. Like, you should treat everybody the exact same. Like, if I go to New York, I'm assuming that they're going to be like, oh, you showed up in Hey Dudes, you're not going to spend money. Or I showed up in Hey Dudes because I saved money, not spending a ton of money, and I have $100K sitting in my bank account, and you didn't greet me, thought I was bullshit. So guess what? I just walked across the street and spent all this. Mind you, that is not Chris Kellum. I do not have that kind of money. But I'm like, that's how I treat everybody. I'm like, just because you walked in like bummy, I'm like, it's your day off. I'm bummy. Like if I'm not in a suit, I am quite literally in the most comfortable outfit I can find. So
I bought this in racquetball clothes.
Yes, you did.
I look like an idiot.
You didn't go to racquetball, though.
I didn't go to racquetball after.
Pickleball.
That was
Yeah. That's, I mean, I had the opportunity. So in 2012 was like the first year I really started making decent money in the insurance space. So I was like 2 years in. For those that want to get in the industry, it takes at least 2 years. And I wanted a Mercedes so bad. Just a C-Class. Nothing freaking crazy. 39,000 at the time, right? Whatever. And that was the thing. I showed up in like gym shorts and a T-shirt. No one even talked to me. I went to go sit in the car, and one guy was like, hey, can I help you? And I was like, yeah, I kind of want this. And he was like, all right, well, let's do some credit stuff. And I was like, can you tell me about the car? Like, don't pre-qualify me, you asshole. Right. Like, whatever. So I left there. I went to BMW. They treated me like gold, and I bought a 2 Series. And that was
sick. Yeah.
That was it. Like, some people are schmucks when it comes to that stuff.
And I've heard these stories all the time. Like, people are like, oh, they didn't treat me right. And I'm like, I don't care what you're wearing. As long as you come in and you're not mean about life, then I'm going to treat you right. If you come in with attitude, well, that's a different story. But
random question.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like everything we were going down. Have you heard of Ben Newman?
No.
He's in similar, or he was in the same insurance type of space too, but now he's a performance coach and everything too. So I thought like, oh, you might know
I'll have to
him.
look him up.
Yeah, I think you would like him a lot.
Yeah.
He actually does a lot of performance coaching for college football teams and NFL players.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so very good. And
That's cool.
Yeah, same type of background. So I was just thinking about that too. So I was like, oh, I wonder if you heard of him.
Yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
YouTube him.
Yeah, he runs in the same, not quite as close with like Grant Cardone, but like Ed Milet.
Oh, yeah.
Like Andy
And
Frisella.
Ed's
So
kind of
does-
in the same space that we
Right.
are and stuff like that, too. I like that. I like that you mentioned that, too, because I like the fact that he did it and now he is performing. You guys see how many like YouTube, TikTok, whatever, like I'm going to train you how to just murder life. What'd you do? Well, I've been training people how to murder life since I was
Exactly.
12. You're like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? You know? So I like that if he was successful in the insurance space first, like that's always a plus for me to engage in content, you know?
Right, yeah. He was in the top, like, smaller than 1% of everything and did it within like 3 years and then grew his business, sold it, and started performance coaching
Oh, that's
full time.
awesome.
So yeah, so he knows his shit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the thing. Like there's two types of coaches out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's the ones who are coaches, and then there's the ones who did it, learned it, lost it, learned it some more, and then they're like, "Oh, let me help you."
Yeah.
Like, and those to me are like the cheat codes. Like we were talking about saving time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather go to somebody who I know has done the thing that I'm looking for than be like, "Oh man, you're an amazing coach." Everyone, I'm like, yeah, but that's not specific to me.
No, exactly.
I'm like, same with healthcare. You got to find the right healthcare professional. Like, you can't just go to anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with, I think, anything like you hear on podcasts or YouTube or whatever. It's like, you should be doing keto. You should be doing carnivore. You should be doing Atkins. You're like, well, it should be probably catered to me as opposed to
Right.
just marketing a freaking diet. So yeah, I'm all about that stuff. There are lots of people that I won't name names that like, I'll be at a conference and they're like headlining or whatever, and they got paid what I want to get paid to be up there. And you're like, what? You said nothing for an hour and a half. Like, what is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just incredible sellers. They go up there and say a lot of things and gave it zero value.
Yeah,
It just
or-
sounded like you knew.
Or they have, I mean, there's also a ton of other quote unquote influencers out there that have a shit ton of money from something and they can afford to look like they have unbelievable real content. They have great subtitlers. They fly private. They're like, they could do nothing. They could inherit mommy and daddy's money, and then they're just going to charge you $25,000 an hour to train you on how to be a better Pete.
Right.
Like, come on, man.
You're like,
Yeah. And last week we brought on the doctor from
oh, yes.
yeah, the functional doctor that was talking about the same thing too. Like, hey, there's not a one size fits all for this.
Yeah.
So same type of thing too. It's just got to know who you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to what you were talking about too, and to bring the Ben Newman thing back on. So part of his team too is David Meltzer, and he was one of those guys that
Oh, I know David Meltzer. Yeah.
build up
Yep.
huge, incredible real estate business, lost it all.
Yep.
And he was like, well, shit, I guess we got to do it again. And then built it back up again. And just knowing that you have that fortitude and it's just the grit.
Dude, that resolve is so crazy too, because like I say if I lost everything right now, I'd be able to do it again. I'd probably be in a funk and a half. But the same year that I bought the BMW in the insurance space, I don't know if it works this way in financial services, but like if you two were working for me and you wrote a bunch of business and it didn't last a year and you quit, all that debt of the policies that fell off is on me as your manager. So I was really good at selling the dream and recruiting people. I wasn't necessarily living the dream. Like I had a 2 Series, kind of cool, but like whatever. So I brought on like 60, 70 agents, and these 2 scumbags wrote a bunch of bad business, let it roll to me. And like in October of 2012, I got hit with like 50-ish thousand of roll up debt at like at 23. And like that by itself took me 18, 19 months to get out of. Like I had to move back into my parents' basement. Like Meg and I were Netflixing and chilling for a year and eating Cheetos because that's like all I could afford. Like it sucked. So like hearing on podcasts or whatever, like, oh yeah, I had a, $175 million real estate portfolio, and then 2008 happened, and it sucked for a year, but then I did again. I'm like, you are Superman. Like, I don't even understand or comprehend how you could possibly go through that.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because Chris and I have this conversation a lot too, because typically what you see like in the news media and stuff, right, is like, oh, these billionaires, like these horrible people. Like a David Meltzer type, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's the most genuine guy.
Yeah.
And so to see someone who's so genuine and just like puts everything out there and like actually really wants to help you, like you can go to his website today and get a free book because that's how badly he wants to help you.
Yep.
And show like the resolve. Like I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like people like that. Real people.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So talking about real people and going from the bottom, getting to the top, what would success look like for you?
I don't know who coined this term, but it's probably the universal answer is you do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want at any point in time and not have to worry about it. I think that's like the ultimate goal when it comes to, because it brings in family, it brings in finances, it brings in personal health, it brings in it's like, if I want to go on this diet and it costs me $1,000 a week, screw it. If I want to go on this vacation with my family and it's $50,000, screw it. If I want to go fly and hang out with my best friend from 8th grade, it's like, I'll hop on the private jet. Right. So I think that's like the ultimate. I have that written on one of my vision boards, which is also important. Entrepreneurs like vision that shit out. I have like 4 of them, but I think that's the culmination of at least what it means to me is like whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want at any point in time.
That makes sense.
To build off of that and then go into my next question.
Is
I'm glad you touched on that too. That was something that I started extremely late, as in last year. I always thought like vision boards and manifesting. I was like, oh, that like voodoo type of stuff, like, whatever, like sounds good. But when I started listening to these like David Meltzer, Andy Frisella, Ben Newman types, they all said the same thing. And I was like, well, shit. Yeah. If all of these guys are doing it, like I'm clearly missing out on something. And it's true. If you sit down, you take the time and effort to like actually think of where you're going and to build those vision boards, it makes a huge difference just in the last year of doing it and putting it out there.
Oh, yeah. I have multiple examples of it. You're included in one of them. I sent you that text, right?
Yes.
So like I started following Brad Lee, who's owns Lightspeed. It's what my training platform is on. And I started following his podcast maybe in like 2018. I was like, I'm going to be on this thing one day. And in 2020, I was on it. And then in 2021, I was on it again. Oh, wow. And this dude's got like millions of subscribers. Yeah. But that's like a goal that I wrote down for like a year or two straight is like, I want to be on this podcast. Another one where we went to a conference that I was training at, and one of the main speakers had this like vision outline where it was like, what do you want in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, and I think 5 years? Mm-hmm. And the shortest was 3 months. And I think this was in April, maybe, because I think you got that thing in September, right? So I never had a solid gold Rolex in my life, and I couldn't be able to afford one either. But I was like, I'm going to get one. Like, this was April. By September, I would have one. And no shit, like 50-something days later, he was like, have an olive date. And I was like, mine. And then I took a picture with the planner with it and sent it to him. And I was like, holy fucking shit. Like, that works. So those two were really cool. But the coolest one, and Meg will say she still won't watch this damn movie, is when I got in all that debt. I can't read book. Like, I have so much ADHD. It's like, I'll read like 10 words and be like, fuck this shit. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. But when I got in all that debt, I probably fell asleep to The Secret on Netflix easily 90% of the nights of that year and a half. And eventually it worked because my mindset was so jacked up that like I needed something to pull me out of that, no matter how. I thought it was like wizardry too. I was like, what is this bullshit? I think it's so it's going to happen. Yeah, get the hell out of here. But it worked. But it only works too when you put the action behind it. I can't just sit in my room all day and be like, I would like a private jet.
Right. and then you sit there in your room and do nothing.
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah,
you got to get out there and put the action behind it.
Yeah.
Well, with all of that being said, though, if you were to tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Oh, man. Like younger professional self? Like when I started working?
No. I want both.
Oh, both. Oh, okay. So, all right. Younger professional self. So I'll say like 20, 22, whatever. The pain won't last that long financially because I was so distraught. I felt like such a bad person. even like I love my parents to death and they let me move back in, but my mom like didn't comprehend how that was even possible. Like 50 grand, like you went to college, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I know I'm a piece of shit. I don't know. But like looking back and it only being 18 months out of my 12-year career, that's not really a huge blip on the radar. But when you're in it, you're like, my life is over.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's hard. Younger than that, I would say like, I wish I had more. This is going to sound terrible, but I wish I had more fun as like a kid. I was always this kind of fucked up, weird sales entrepreneur style stuff. Like I was flipping keychains in like 8th grade and stuff like that. Like I would sell my grandma pens that I got at like Staples and shit. Like I was always on for some reason. And I played video games and I ran around with friends and stuff like that too. But like I could never turn it off from like a very young age. And I started working at like Staples at like 16. I turned into the top extended warranty salesperson there. I was the scumbag that was like, oh, you bought a shredder? Comes with a 3-year warranty and it's $4, But like I should have been a kid more than having that mentality. I mean, it served me obviously, but like I wish I could turn it off every once in a while and just be like, I can't even to this day. We go on vacation and stuff and I'm like 3 days in, I'm like, fuck this shit. Like give me my phone. It's terrible, but I guess there could be worse problems to have.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to tie into other episodes on the podcast, do you see a traditional Western medicine doctor or have you swapped to something?
Good question. So, oh my God, I hope they're not listening. So I would like more of the non-traditional route. One, I hate needles. So every time I gotta get blood and shit, I'm like, boo, and I just decompress.
I can't.
Oh my God. There's something about, I could get a shot all day. I get the flu shot. It's like, whatever. I got a tetanus shot. Like, that's fine because I guess it's up here. As soon as they stick something in here, I'm like, boom. So it sucks. But I feel like when I went to a pediatrician, like, they would take blood no matter what. They'd prick your finger. They'd make you pee in a cup. They'd check your hernia and everything, make sure you're okay. They do this weird tapping thing on your whole body, right?
Yeah.
I went for my annual physical like 4 months ago, and I went in. Nurse weighed me, blood pressure, checked me out. They were like, "You feel okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "All right, you're going to talk to the doctor?" And he was like, "You feel okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "All right, see you next year." And I was like, "The fuck?" I was like, dude, I pass out every time. I'm not going to voluntarily ask for a needle in my arm, but can you force it upon me? Like,
at least pretend like
what the hell? So even though I sell health insurance, our healthcare system's a little shitstorm, but I would like to transition more to like the non-traditional approaches of stuff. Like even I find myself on the supplementation side of things. I started doing 10X Health, which is like Gary Brecka, because I saw him speak last year at 10X, and like it's helping my ADHD, and it's just like folate, magnesium, whatever. But I took this gene test, and it was just a mouth swab for a couple minutes, and they analyze all this stuff, and they're like, hey, all you really need is this, and this, and most people can't get it from their diet, so you want to supplement, and if you can get it from your diet, great. And like, I feel so much better, and maybe a little bit's placebo effect, but it's also like when I ran out of the pills and didn't have them on reorder, and they're just vitamins. Yeah. But if I didn't put them on auto ship, because I'm stupid, I'd go 10 days and I'd not have them, and I'd feel like a shit brick, So I think there is some relevance to that stuff.
AKA, you guys should definitely check out functional medicine.
Oh, where's that?
Instead of
or is it online?
Oh, it's online.
Oh,
but it's also doctors who, I mention this because we're all kind of like in the wellness space in life and trying to get better, bettering ourselves. There you go. Optimize.
Yes.
But that's what they're there for. Instead of taking like the regular route and doing like, oh, do you feel good? Cool. Goodbye. They're actually gonna be like, nah, but for real.
Yeah.
Let's dig deeper.
Yes.
Yeah. How can we get better?
Yeah.
So we had on the
Dr. Hillary Rutledge. Yep.
Yes, and she's part of Wilmington Functional Medicine.
Yep.
Ooh.
No, let's be real. I'm going to plug that. In general, like finding somebody who can help you not just ask like the basic questions or prescribe you a shit ton of pills to then have side effects, to then mess up your insurance rate on the back end. I feel like that's always a good thing, is always growing and optimizing your life.
No, I'm big on that. Even like from a sometimes you don't want to go to a therapist, but you go to like a performance coach or something like that, because you don't necessarily need the therapy. You need like optimization or something of that nature. Going the holistic route is sometimes like really freaking awesome.
Right. Another person this year. I think that's going to be the goal. Like the throw, like the line that runs through this year is like optimizing your life. Mm-hmm. Like we started with Reggie, he's a business coach, and he's always talking about optimizing and like working on health. And I feel like almost everyone we've had for the past couple of months has been in that, not even on purpose. Mm-hmm. It's just been in that thorough line.
We always get on these like themes that we never actually try to get onto. And I'm like, all right, I'm about it. It creates cohesion.
Well, it's hard too, because it's hard to do that. Like going full circle is like, if you don't spend money, how the hell are you going to optimize anything? Right. Yeah. But like taking the time to do so, because maybe some of the listeners don't have the means, you get all this bullshit advice from all these people trying to sell you either snake oil or it's their view and that's it. And you're not going to somebody who's actually like, so what's going on with you? Mm-hmm. And let's cater this, let's bespoke this to your life. You know what I mean? Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Sorry, my mind's like on the bespoke pattern.
I was going to say, thinking about it,
we've hit an hour, and I just want to thank you for coming on, Pete.
Absolutely.
Definitely find him on Instagram. We'll plug in Pete Fournier.
Peter J. Fournier on all social media.
Yes, because that's where he posts everything, and also typically who I tag when I sell watches of any sort. And no, he does not get every single watch.
No,
I must make that disclaimer so people don't try and show up at his house.
Yeah, no. Well, they won't be there, most of them. So,
or
insurance is expensive,
right? Or at Reach Jewelers trying to get all of the stainless Rolexes.
Gosh, yeah, good try. I don't even see all of this.
Hey, you're talking to the guy that said he didn't want a Daytona because they're ugly.
I'm with you. I don't think they're pretty watches.
It's not. And when you think Rolex, you don't think Daytona.
No. Well, you may, but I don't think that I want to drop $15K on something that doesn't tell me the date.
Right.
Yes.
Because I'm not racing cars.
No. I mean, the modern Rolex fan wants a Daytona, but let's be real.
They want it so they can resell it. 90% of the time.
Cannot confirm nor deny that information.
Right. It's more so I want to keep this, and if shit hits the fan, then I'm like,
right. But for those who are listening, front end, we did drink the Smooth Ambler Contradiction Bourbon, which is a blended whiskey. Super smooth.
I would like to interject.
Delicious.
So I've been drinking coffee as well, and when I drink coffee and that together, it tastes fantastic.
I have to make sure.
It's very good. Yeah.
So what you're saying is
this is an after dinner type?
No. What I'm hearing is if you have a really bad work experience, you should just like make your cup of coffee. Just kidding. That is illegal in most jobs.
None of my agents are listening.
Right. Do not listen to this episode.
No, but this one it's really good. And like Tyler says, it mixes well with coffee, which means it has a nice smooth flavor. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have coffee that overpowers it.
Yeah.
But Blue Cup Roastery over here in the Cargo District makes some really primo shit.
Not a sponsor, but we'd like it.
For sure. But thank you guys for listening and hopping on, Pete.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This was a blast.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun.
So end it up. Cheers.
Cheers.